Welcome everybody. We're going to look at this same picture and we are going to make a complicated layer mask so that we can actually get the nice wisps of hair that we didn't see in the last video so that our mask looks a lot more complete and accurate. Okay, first thing I'd like you to do, as usual, is I'd like you to duplicate the background. So there we go. We've got our background duplicated, and what you'll notice is when we see the windows that we have, usually you'll see under Windows, I need you to make sure that the channels are visible, that the layers are visible. They usually will show up in the same palette. But I'm going to grab the channels palette and I'm going to drag it down and just see how the blue line there shows up and it clicks to the bottom. So I'll have the layers showing and I'll have the channels showing. Oh, and this is the layer mask that we're going to create. So I'll just get rid of that. So I want you to notice that we are working on the background copy, not on the actual background. So I'm going to turn the background off, background copy. Now every image that we have is this background layer right here is made up of 4 channels. RGB stands for red, green, blue. Here's the red channel all by itself. Notice the eye is the only one that's appearing and it's beside the red. The green channel and the blue channel. The red channel holds a lot of the light tones and the green channel holds a lot of the detail. The blue channel holds everything else that's kind of muddy and dirty, but that's a pretty good channel for us to look at. Now, what I want to do is I look at all 3 of these channels and I have to decide which channel shows the greatest contrast to the background. Well, the blue channel, so I would say it would be between the green and the blue one for me is the one that shows the greatest contrast. I'm going to duplicate this blue channel and I'm going to do all of my work on this blue channel and create a selection. I drag this down right here to this icon and it creates a blue copy. Now, with this blue copy, and I'm going to do all my work on this channel, I'm going to go Image, Adjust, and I'm going to adjust the levels. I'll bring this over here. So the levels that I want to adjust, this is my whites. I want to drag this to the right. And I want to blow out as much of the background as I can. And I want to drag this one to the left. And I want to bring in as much of the black as I can without bringing in too much here. We can get rid of this stuff, but I'd rather that we have the blacks black and the whites really white. Okay, so you can see that we need to bring this back down. Need to bring this back down, probably about right here. And we need to bring this down right here. I'm worried about this area right in here. Okay, as long as I have a nice edge along this image, I can come in and I can clean this up pretty good. So I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to hit OK. The next thing that I'm going to want to do is I just want to take a look at adjustments and I want to look at what's called threshold. Threshold will give me a pure black or pure white. Okay, this pure black, pure white, not doing much for me. I'm going to hit cancel. I can check the preview. I'm going to hit cancel. Okay, here comes the complicated work. Make sure you've selected a brush and make sure that you've changed your blend mode to overlay. This overlay up here, not down here, not on this. Leave that on normal. So on this blue copy channel, make sure that's selected, the only one that's selected. Make sure you're on overlay. Now you're going to paint with black. So if you're painting with black, start in the body somewhere and click and just drag. You'll notice that you can kind of go over the edges a little bit and it darkens up the skin, and the more I click, the darker it gets. Okay, so now watch that edge right there of the skin. Now don't worry if it's not perfect, but you must start on the inside of the body. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. So I'll just click a number of times right in here. Okay, now switch this to white. Whoops. Make sure you're on the brush tool. Switch that to white, and I want you to watch. When you start on the outside here, and you scroll and you click and drag in, it will lighten the image that is 50% white to 100% white. See how this black will not lighten anymore? So it's pure black. So I go along, I start on the outside, click and drag, and I can kind of get rid of a lot of the artifacts here. Click and drag. Okay, I'm going to just hold the shift key down, spacebar key down. I'm going to use the right bracket key and I'm going to make this brush bigger, start in the top corner, and just clean up that background. Spacebar and clean up that background. And notice we can clean up the area in our arm. But I had to start over here. I clicked and then I went in there. Let's switch this back to black again. And I'll change the brush size, make that smaller. Start here and just click and drag. So I'm going to try and make sure I stay inside as best I can. Inside her skin, inside her face area. Yeah, we could just darken this down as much as we can. Don't worry again that it's not all going black. We'll solve that in just a few minutes. And notice I just go back and forth and I change the brush size. And so what I want you to notice here is we've actually kept the little wisps of hair pretty darn good. Start there, whoops, and that black, so I'll switch to white here. Start out here, click. See how it's cleaning that up? Might be cleaning that up a little too much. So I'll go back to black, click in here, and it'll bring some of that back. Okay, so we've done pretty good. Oh, let's just clean this up. Let's tidy that up a little more. Let's try and get that line back in completely. There we go. That's looking pretty good. Tap, 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 tap. Okay, so there we go. It's looking a little crisper. Oh, okay, so I'm going to switch to white. Start out here and drag inwards. Okay, let's start with white down here. Now, change this blend mode back to normal. And now look, when I click on the outside and I paint, I get rid of everything. Now, you can't do this. I'm going to go Control Z. You can't do that now because it's in it's in normal mode. I'm going to change this to black and I'm going to paint in here. Careful to avoid the edges. So I'm not going to get too close to the edges here. I'll worry about that in a bit. There's techniques for everything, eh? So I'll try and just paint the black into the features that are on the inside. Now I got to make sure that there's no little specks or anything just kicking around. It's got to be black. Black is black. Okay, I'm going to change the brush size down here. Click, click, click. Carefully come to the edge here. I went over a little bit, so I'm going to go back to overlay, paint with white, start out here, and see, it just cleans that up. There we go. Change this back to black, change it back to normal. Oh, right in here, right there. Okay, I'll just paint her face back in there. So as we can see, yeah, this is a little bit tedious, but nothing is ever easy. You have to work at it. Now let's zoom in here. If everything was easy, everybody would do it, and nobody would want to do it. Click once, hold the shift key down, click again. All right, I'm going to right click on my image and I'm going to change the hardness to 100. And I'm going to click here again, and I'm going to click there again. Okay, and I'm going to click here, right there, and I'm going to click right there. Nice straight line. Okay, so we'll click. Trying to not color outside the lines. I'll click once right there. Hold the shift key down and click. Okay, I'm okay with that little line there. And I'll just click once here, click once here, and I'll just drag down. Join that space right there. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Oh, got a little zoom in right here. Okay, and I'll click once here. Hold the shift key down and click right there. Okay, again, that's looking pretty good. Cover that in, click once. The edges looking good. Control 0. Okay, and there is my silhouette. So that's my blue copy. So I'm going to click the RGB layer. Now what I want you to notice, if it turned out like this, if you got your image back and it looked like this, you'd be like, oh God, what do I do now? Just turn off the layer mask that's on the blue copy. So now we're back to our original image. So go to your background copy, make sure that's the only one selected. Go up to Select, Load Selection. Now, what you saw was a red mask that we put over top of our subject. Well, that means that that is not included in our image, but that's the only thing we actually want in our image. So if you hit Invert, when you hit OK, the selection will only go around the subject that we chose. So I'm pretty happy with that. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to make a new layer, and I would like to go Edit, Fill, and I'm going to fill with black. 100% black, and just hit OK. I'm going to go Control D, and I'm going to turn off my background layer, and this is where we see the magic of this mask. And that is, now it's a low quality image, so this would be a lot tighter with a very high quality image. Oh, and we've got a few problems here. So we're black, we're on the brush tool, this is normal, and on this layer we're just painting some of those little white pieces in. Now I could go around and I can fix every little thing that stands out, because there'll be enough of them. There we go, that looks pretty good. Control 0. Let's bring this back over here. Now let's make a new layer, and if you hold down the Option key, or it could be the Command key, and you hit Create New Layer, it'll create the layer underneath the silhouette layer that we have. Let's just call that Silhouette. And let's call this Color. So on the Color layer, make sure it's selected so it's highlighted in blue. I'd like you to go Edit, Fill, and I'd like you to fill with a color of your choice. In this case, I'm going to go with, we went with blue last time. Let's go with a brilliant red. There's the red. Now, I'd like to make a new layer. Just click that. It'll make a new layer above, and we'll call this Gradient. And we'll come over to our Tools palette, and I'll select the Gradient tool. And I think I'll select, oh, whatever. Select any color that you want. And I'm going to set it to Radial. So move in to move out. Okay, I like the colors, but I'd like the opacity to come down. So start at 0 and we'll move up a little bit. Okay, well maybe I'll just change the blend mode to lighten. Nah, maybe I'll change it to darken. Okay, I kind of like that. How about vivid light? Linear light, that should even be sharper. Hard mix. No. How about hue? Oh, I kind of like that. Color, saturation, luminosity. There we go. Okay, so from red, we'll have it a little darker towards the center. Okay, last thing I want to do is on the silhouette layer, just double click to the right of it, and let's change our outer glow. So make sure it's highlighted in blue. Change the blend mode to normal for that. And let's leave it at yellow right now, and let's just max out on the size. That's pretty crazy. We'll come back just a little bit. So that's looking pretty good right about there. And let's see what precise looks like. Oh, I don't like precise. Let's go, just leave it at softer. Okay, with that, we could change the opacity down, or we could bring it up. I'll bring that up to 100%. And I think I'm going to change the color. Let's go with a blue, a darker blue. Okay, and we could change the opacity of this. You know what? Blue's no good. How about a yellow? Brighter yellow. There we go. I like the brighter yellow. And we can change the... We can introduce noise into that. Sure, let's just make it funky. We'll introduce a little bit of noise, and we'll put some opacity on that. The spread will make it just go crazy wild, so we'll keep that really low and hit OK. So that's looking pretty darn good now. We could have actually put an inner glow on this too, and let's do that. We'll just go with an inner glow, and we'll go with normal. Let's change it to a white just so that it shows, and let's go size. And we'll just give it a little bit of an edge. You know what? I don't like that inner glow. Let's take it right out. Okay, so this is what we have, is our background color. Let's start with what we started with. We'll just take our eyes off that. So then we said, okay, let's put a silhouette. And with that silhouette, let's put a background on it. And let's give that background a little bit of flavor. And let's give our silhouette a bit of an effect. And yeah, what we could do is we can come up here and clean all these things up. But that won't be for this video. I hope this tutorial was helpful. Of course, it was pretty advanced. We're talking about channels, which is something that we don't regularly work with. So I hope that if you did do this tutorial, channels made a lot of sense to you.